So today, Millionaire Mindset is about why does it seem like you have. I had a well. Let me just start. I had a couple conversations today, and there were conversations with some really cool people. I actually had a conversation with one of my coaches. Actually, some of y'all may know him. One of my coaches. His name is Myron Golden. So you may know him. I was at Myron's office today, and he and I we talked about a few things. We only spent. I mean, I was there for a couple hours, but we spent a little bit of time in the office just chatting about some stuff and and but that's not the conversation. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what he said later, but I had some other conversations with some other folks today. And one of the things that it helped me to realize in the conversations, not that I didn't already know this, but but let me ask you, do do you understand that nothing's missing? And so, from a millionaire mindset perspective, like, what do you mean nothing's missing, coach? What do you mean? So, do you realize that everything you need for the success you desire, you have? Do you understand that? And if you don't have the things that you desire, do you understand why? And and do you understand, like, and you may think, well, what do you mean? Like, do you understand why? Meaning, not I'm not talking about the excuses why. Like, that was one of the conversations that I had today with someone. Someone actually said to me, well, I'll get into that conversation later too. But one of the reasons why, there's really one major, like, there's a number of reasons, but there's a big reason why most of us don't most people don't have what they desire, or anything close to that. And you might think it might be because, well, I don't have money, right? And you have people that say, oh, money's not that important. No, money is important. and 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 you know why it's important, right? Well, people say, well, wait a minute, it's the love of I mean, money is the root of all evil. No, that's not what the Bible says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. And but also, money is not a bad thing. In the Bible, there's nothing in the Bible where you see it shows that money is a bad thing. And at least, like, when you look at the patriarchs in the Bible, when you look at Adam and Eve, right? God talks about having he has gold in the Garden of Eden. There's a reason for that. You think about Abraham. Was Abraham rich? No, he wasn't. He was actually very rich, and that's what the Bible says. Abraham was very rich. Was Isaac, Jacob, Joseph? Like, you think about all those people. You think about what Moses actually had as he conquered the lands throughout, as he was going through the desert, and he had to fight battles too. Think about when Joshua, like, all the battles Joshua had, and what did the Lord do? He said, I'm going to deliver all these kings and these kingdoms into your hands. He did that. Think about what David and Solomon didn't have half the battle, right? Because the Lord said with Solomon, what did he say? He said, with Solomon, because you've asked this thing, which is good, which is what? To be able to have the wisdom to serve the people, to lead the people, his people, in a way that pleases him. And so he says, because you didn't ask for all these other things, you asked for the thing that was most important, pleasing me, right? So you ask for that. What I'm going to do is, I'm not only going to give you the thing that most people would ask for, death to your enemies. I'm not only going to give you wealth. I mean, people would ask for wealth. Most people would ask for long life. Like, ask for all those things. You didn't ask for any of those things. You asked for wisdom. So not only am I going to make you the wisest man to walk the face of the earth, but I'm also going to make you the wealthiest. I'm also going to make you the wisest. And what am I going to do? I'm also going to give you peace. So Solomon didn't even have to fight Death, he didn't even have to fight. Like he had no battles, right? But think about the battles that you all had. We all have, like most of us are, we have these battles in life. And some of us have, like, some of us, the battles are bigger than others. Some of us, the battles, we just make them up. We create our own battles in many cases. And so that's what, like, I'm talking about. Do you understand that nothing is missing? Well, why do you keep saying that, coach? You keep saying nothing's missing. The battles that we create, the battles that we're creating in our life, many of the battles, they are real, but the greatest battles that we fight are the battles that we created that aren't even real. All right. So now you might, like, you may be confused. Coach, what do you mean I'm creating these battles that aren't real? Well, do you realize that and again, this is the millionaire mindset, right? So these are things it's important because if you're serious about growing a business, if you're serious about generating, like creating generational wealth, if you're serious about getting out of the rat race and escaping the 9 to 5, if you're serious of, like, if you're really ready to fight the battle, because there are battles to get there, there are going to be battles to get there, right? Things, what are those battles? There are going to be things that come about that want to keep you from the vision that God's given you. Like that you're going to have real live battles. But those battles are not designed to stop you. They are designed to stop you in some instances. However, because God said there's nothing missing, I'm going to show you that in a second. There's nothing missing. Because there's nothing missing, then those battles, they're just designed to make you stronger, to make you better, to make you prepared for, as you go through the journey, to be able to do the great thing that he has set out for you. All right, so let's get back to the battles that we create first, and then we'll talk about why nothing's missing. So the battles we create first. I had a conversation today, and the conversation I had today, you know, really amazing sister. She's I've known her for quite some time. She's got so much fire. She's so like just so smart, and she's determined. Like God's just given her such vision for her life. And we were talking, and one of the things that she said to me was, "Man, like I got all these things happening, and like don't like I'm not giving up. Like I've been on this journey for quite a while." And I said, "Well, where are you at?" She's like, "Well, I'm getting ready to fly out to this seminar, this webinar, this training." I'm like, "Cool, cool, cool. What is it about?" And she was telling me what it was about, and it was about a bunch of tactics and strategies. And I'm like, "Okay, all right, cool." So, and I said, well, like I know, like the stuff you just told me about, like everything that I know that you have a heart and a desire to accomplish. You already have everything you need. Because the way the conversation did start was that the one thing that she was working on and had been working on for a bit, she was she was really considering, because of the battle, just walking away from it. And I'm like, well, and this is what I said. I said, well, if I were you, I would walk away from it. She goes, really? But wait, what do you mean? She goes, I go, and in fact, we were talking about Airbnb. And I said, well, like based on what you know, the experience that you're having with the knowledge that you have, if you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to continue to get that same result. And if that's the result that you're looking for, then you should stay in it. But if that's the result that you're not looking for, you need to either change the input so you could get a different output or get out. But if you're not willing to change the input, no, I'm ready to change the input. Like many people say they're ready to change the input, but here's a problem. They don't really know what the input is. And then the battle comes with getting access to the resources for the input to get you the output that you desire, right? And so that's the battle. Well, why is that a battle? Why the battle is because one of the things that now she said is, well, I think, you know what, I'm just going to go over here and try this thing. And I'm like, wait, like, why would you do that? You already got everything you need. You already have everything you need. Nothing's missing. And it's just a matter of understanding what to do with it. And if you don't understand what to do with it, then how are you going to utilize it? And then what's going to happen is you're going to go to this other thing. And if you really believe that, now I didn't say all this part, but I'm telling you, because I shared a couple great little things just for her to be in, to really to just ponder, to pray about. Because it's true, like she has everything. She's literally just a couple simple moves away from accomplishing everything she desires. But that's not something that I need to convince her about. That's something that she needs to go to God and see. So I just gave her a few things. And but think about it. If you have the mindset that when something doesn't work and it's getting tough, you you keep trying and doing, if you keep working harder at what doesn't work, what are you going to do? You're going to get, what are you going to get? The same thing. You got to work, you got to work harder and smarter at what does work. It doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be something else. It's just doing the thing that you're doing different. So now we let me get back to the whole battle thing. So one of the things she said to me was, well, you know what? Man, I'm working on all these things, but the only reason, like I got a lot of knowledge and experience and all these different things. I know that, like I know that I have it. It's just that I can't implement because I got all these other things pulling at me. And I said, provide me some clarity. What do you mean all these things pulling at you? And she said, well, I got work, I got family, I got other responsibilities. And I said, oh, I said, can I coach you for a second? And she said, sure, of course. I said, you just made that up, right? She said, huh? I said, you just made that up. She says, what you mean, coach? I said, well, I said, imagine this, just think about it. I said, again, you have everything you need, nothing's missing. Like that's already established. You just got finished saying, and maybe if you're listening to this, right, on YouTube, if you're listening to it, do you have a tendency to come up with, or do you know people that create excuses as to why we can't do something? Do you come up with a bunch of reasons why? Like that's part of the battle. Like your greatest battle is going to be with you. But but she's not lying, right? She didn't just make it up that she has other things going on. That part is true. But the part that's not true is the reason why she can't implement is because she's got all these other things pulling at her. What did I say? I said, okay, so let me just give you an example. What if God said to you, hey, sit down right here. And he spoke audibly to you and he made sure you knew that this was no trick. This was really him. And he said to you, if you do this thing right now, you're gonna have like I'll give you you're gonna end up making $500,000 tomorrow. Like if you just need to do this thing right now, just do it. What would you do? And she said, I would do it. I said, exactly. Why you still got all these things pulling at you, but because he told you what to do, and you knew what the outcome, you truly believed what the outcome would be, you would know like that battle that you created in your mind would already be won because you wouldn't even allow it to distract you. Right? And if it tried to, what would you do? You would do everything in your power to keep it at bay so that you could accomplish the thing. Am I right? Yeah. So you made it up. It's true that these things are pulling at you, but it's not true that these things are stopping you. The only thing stopping you from doing what you need to do is you. If you believed, if you trusted, if you believe, then you would implement and get it done. Right. So think about so for anyone that's listening to this now, like does that make sense, first of all? And two, do you have those kinds of battles? Like, are you creating these things in your head? I said this a couple weeks ago, and I also shared it with someone today as well, where when you think about like I did a study a couple weeks ago on like I like thinking about the whole brain stuff, right? So think about this. Like in your brain, how many thoughts do you know how many thoughts the average human being has a day? Do you know? Like, if you know, just let me see some of you. Just type something in the chat if you know, right? If you know how many thoughts the average human being has per day, type it in the chat. I'm gonna see if I can see the things in the chat. Type it in the chat. Well, I'll tell you. All right, 6,500 thoughts in a day. The average human being. Now, can anyone tell me how many thoughts of those 6,500, like what percentage are positive, which percentage are negative? Type it in the chat. Yep, Cindy, over 6,000 thoughts a day. How many positive, how many negative? So there's over 50% of those thoughts that the average human being has, over 50%, well over 50% are negative. So, and I shared this the other day. What's the relevance? The relevance to that is like, are you the average human being? I don't believe I'm the average human being. I believe that at one point I was the average human being, but I don't believe I'm the average human being. Why do you think that? You think you're better? No, I don't think I'm any better than anyone. Not that part. I'm talking about the things that I do every day to to be the best that I can be. Now, what does that mean? So, like, I read the Word of God, I pray, I exercise, I do as much as I can to eat right, and I'm mindful of the sleep that I get. I am very very intentional about the thoughts that like I even think. I'm intentional about the stuff that I'm listening to and watching. I do a lot of reading. Like like all of those things to keep me focused on the vision, like of what I that I know that God is giving me, the assignment that He has, like being, being in alignment with my assignment, right? So I know I'm not the average human being. Most people, what do? Are you like, so take some, like, just think about yourself. Are you like, when you look at your the people around you, or most people, like, how much television do you watch? How much, what kind of music are you listening to? When you are watching TV and movies, what kinds of things are you watching? Are there a lot of swearing, and like, is there a lot of blood and guts? This is where I'll be honest. Like, I've gotten really sensitive to this more so lately than ever. Like, I'm an Avengers fan. Like, I like those kinds of action movies, but one of the things I realized, like, when you are watching things where people are dying and getting killed, like, that does something to your psyche. It does something to your spirit as well. And so I'm being even more mindful of those kinds of things. I like to now just watching things that are not as gory, right? Like, I've never been like a horror flick guy. Like, I don't like evil stuff like that. But to me, like, think about it. Like, John Wick, for instance. Like, my wife like John Wick. I took her to a John Wick movie when the last movie came out, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. I don't think I'll ever watch another John Wick. Like, I left out of there, and I wasn't even really sensitive to this then, but when I left out of there, like, I just, like, my spirit was just, I was just so weighed down. I didn't know what was wrong, but I was at least voicing what was going on with me. I was like, man, like I was saying, I'll never watch another John Wick. You know how many people died in that movie? It was just too much killing, right? It was just so much, and I didn't know, but at, like, later on, I found in that it, like, the words that you use. So if you got a lot of cursing, like, there's a book that's called, on my reading list. It's called the uh the I'll tell you in a second, because my reading list is 190 some books long. But I want to tell you, it's about water, and I'm going to recommend the book to you because it's a really, really, really powerful book. And the book is it's where is it? Come on, water, water, water. Uh, so man, all right, hold on. Let me give me 10 more seconds. I'll find it. Water. Where are you? I'll get it in a second. But the book itself, like, it talks about, like, words and the power of words. And what they did is they used water. And what he did was he would write things on water. Water can't hear, right? Well, you think water can't hear, like, it can't see. But what he did was he would write these words. He would write bad words, swear words on water. He would write, and then we would write, like, words like love and like good words on water. And what he found was that the water crystals, he studied the water crystals as he froze them, and the water crystals that develop with all these bad words on them, the water crystals were deformed. And then the water crystals that, like, it wasn't just one or two studies, like, he did many, 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 many studies. And then the water crystals that formed with all the good words that were written on the water uh, canisters, those things were they formed naturally and properly. And so what he came to find out was the power of words. Like, the words that we're listening to, the words that are coming out of our mouth, they are, like, they have a lot of power. and it ain't like more than you think. And so what kinds of things are we listening to? What kinds of words are coming out of your mouth? What kind of words are you allowing yourself to be surrounded by? Like, and I've never like I don't like this like I don't swear and I don't like talking to people that swear, honestly. I don't like listening to like it irks me if I'm watching something and they're swearing on TV. It irks me. Like those kinds of things. And that was before I even knew about that, just because I know that's not of him either. And so all right, so are you like the average person? Are you intentional about those things? Like the vision that God's given you, like the assignment that you know you have, how great is it? How close are you to accomplishing it? And and if you're close, like what got you there? If you've been close for a long time, what got you there? If you're already there, if you've already accomplished everything, then amen. But I would also say if you've accomplished everything, then why are you still breathing? like God's got if you still breathing, He's got something else for you. Or maybe, maybe you just made it up and you made that vision so small that it didn't even need him. You could just accomplish it yourself. Hmm. Something to think about, right? So are you like the average person? Like where where like if you when you think about how intentional you are about that, you don't even know. Like, was that the first time you've heard that more than 3,000 thoughts every day coming from you are negative? Did you even know that? Well, I can tell you most people don't know that. And most people don't even care, honestly. So what happens? So who has the greatest influence on you? It's you. So if you have the greatest influence on you, and you're the one telling yourself more than 3,000 times a day that something is negative, something is bad, something ain't gonna work, something's gonna hurt you, something like all of these things, and it's not even right, it's not even true. You lying to yourself that many times a day, how much power do you think it has over you? How long do you think it's gonna take you to get to really what how hard do you think it's gonna be to get to that vision God's given you? How do you lead others? How do you lead your family? Like that part? Like do I mean, like I don't I, like I want to I don't want to go too deep, but like, I don't want to get too real, but when we think about our kids that have anxiety, right? We think about our kids that that underachieve. We think about our kids who you can see in them the things that are just so amazing, but yet they won't they don't even believe in themselves. How much do we have power over that? Because of how if like it's hard to tell a kid that they could do all these things. You could be president someday if you want. But yet, the gift that God's blessed you with, every time you hit this hurdle, you turn back or you take a left or a right. And they see that. They may not know what it means, they may not understand what they're seeing, but they know that wow, like mom is amazing, dad is amazing, but dad comes home from work every day. He ain't that happy. I don't get to see dad too much. We can never afford this or never afford that. Hopefully, y'all ain't turning them up. Coming home, drinking a beer. Like again, I ain't like that's your way of relaxing. Super Bowl comes on. Super Bowl's coming up this week, right? Super Bowl's coming on. What we gonna do? Like, how great is that vision? How important is that to you? Are you like everyone else? Doesn't mean anything's wrong with watching the Super Bowl. I might watch it. I may. I'm not looking forward to it one way or the other. If I miss it, no matter. But what about you? Like, what are you gonna do if you're watching it? Like, are you like I remember back, I mean, most people like to watch those commercials and things like that. I mean, it's cool. Like entertainment, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. But the question is, are you where you want to be? And have you been like just anticipating this Super Bowl coming up? You've been anticipating that Super Bowl more than you've been anticipating the thing that God's given you, the vision God's given you. So, all right, I'm just throwing it out there, and maybe I'm just getting too real, and I don't, I ain't trying to, let me. So there's two things. As I said, nothing's missing. All right, so let's get to it. Nothing's missing because I'm only going to go another few more minutes. So why do you keep saying nothing's missing, Coach? Well, I keep saying nothing missing because it ain't nothing missing. How do you know? Because the word of God tells us in Genesis that nothing's missing. Okay, where does it tell us that? Well, he told us that in Genesis 1, like the first chapter, just in case you didn't make it to the second chapter, he gave us everything we needed in the first one, right? So what did he do? All right, so in Genesis, he tells us, what does he say? He says, like the first words, and this is what I share with her today. All right, nothing missing. So the first words he said to us was, be fruitful and multiply. So he told us that. And then in that same sentence, he said, fill the earth and subdue it. When he said fill the earth, he wasn't talking about just with the seed in your in your ovaries or your testicles. Like that's not what he's talking about. He ain't just talking about that seed. He's saying fill the earth. He's saying be fruitful and multiply, not with just that fruit, not with just that seed, but with the seed of the other thing that he gave you. When he said we're going to create man in our own image. Well, what is the image that he showed us in the first sentence of Genesis? The first sentence of the first chapter of the first book of the Bible was what? God created. So he's telling us if I'm creating you in my own image, I'm creating you as a creator. And then I'm going to also lay out to you how I created not only you, but all the other things that I created for you, for me and for you, for us. Because I also have an assignment for you. The reason why I create these things, I have an assignment for you. Well, what's the assignment? He said in the rest of that sentence, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it. And then the last part of that sentence, he says, and have dominion over all of these things. Now I'm paraphrasing all of these things that I created on day 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before I created you. Right? But I'll read it because he said in Genesis 1, verse 26, he said, so God created 27. So God created man in his own image, and the image of man he created, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the every living thing that moves on the earth. And God said, see, I have given you, here it goes, every, not some, but every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Also every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So he said everything. He never said some or part. He kept saying everything, everything, everything. So we have access to everything. And he said, have dominion over it. What does that mean? Have dominion over it doesn't, it means to rule over these things. To rule. He said, subdue the things that you created. So the things that when it fill the earth and subdue it, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Subdue means to master. Have dominion means to rule over. So he wants us to have mastery over the things that we created, not that those things will have mastery over us. He wants us to rule over the things that he created, not for those things to rule over us. Why? Because I have an assignment and I created all these things so that you can be in alignment with your assignment. If you're in alignment with your assignment, so that you can accomplish the thing for what I sent you for. Does that make sense? So now imagine though, like, what do you mean when you say, but he also tells us, because both of those things, subdue and dominion, also mean to be good stewards, to lead with care. So he wants us to lead the things you created, the things he created, lead those things, watch over those things with great care. Right? So he's telling us to do those. He told us, like he just laid it all out. So nothing is missing. He gave us everything to accomplish the thing. The only reason why, now do you want to know why? Many of us don't accomplish the things that he's given us vision for? Well, a big part of it is just because we don't believe. Now, that's one, but I'm not even going to talk about that. What I'm going to go back to is the beginning. The beginning of what we were talking about when I was telling you about my sister that I was talking to earlier. And I said she has everything. Like you have everything. But why aren't you accomplishing it? Well, you aren't accomplishing it because you're not willing to do what's necessary and what he's calling you to do it. Like if it's not like you're putting in the work, but you just said you ain't gonna put in the work. Why aren't you gonna put in the work? Well, because you got too many things pulling at you. So if those things keep pulling at you, you're gonna go somewhere else and look for another tactic. Maybe that tactic will get you there. But what I shared was it ain't where you are right now. It's not about tactics. You got all the tactics. Now it's not about tactics for you at this point. It's about principles, right? You have the principles. If you implement the principles because you're doing the work, but the problem is you don't see the work working. It doesn't mean the work isn't working because all work works, but if it ain't working for you, that just means it's working on you. And it's only working on you. If it's working on you, you got to let it work on you long enough so that you could become the person. The Lord is giving it to you to work on you to help you become the person that it has the ability now to work for. Does that make sense? So you so if you resist the work, like those are the battles. Why do you resist the work? Because you got 3,000 plus negative things in your mind that's saying it ain't working. You got 3,000 negative things in your mind, or 4,000 or 5,000, depending on how close you are to the average human being who don't even know this stuff is going on, who's not intentional and not putting in, not understanding the thoughts that are coming through, not understanding how important those things are that you're feeding yourself, and you just letting anything come in here. Like what is part of the armor? Right? The armor of God, he says what? the helmet of salvation. You got to protect this thing. Save this part. Like this is the computer he blessed us with. And if you got this virus in your computer, the computer's going to be all messed up. If you feed the computer negative programs, what's going to happen? Negative stuff's going to come out. So if you're feeding the negative, this computer with you're feeding it negative through your eyes, negative through your ears, negative through your mouth, then guess what's going to come out of that computer? Negative. But if you're feeding it positive through your mouth, positive through your ears, positive through your eyes, then you got more of a chance. All you got to do now is just let the work on you. Don't resist it. See, like, see. Like do you believe it? Do you believe that God's created you for a special purpose? Do you believe it? Do you believe that if he created you and he's given you the assignment, that also he's going to provide you with the resources to accomplish it? Do you believe it? Then if you believe it, the other question is, how much are you talking to him about it? The other question is, how much are you sitting and meditating on his word and his precepts? What does Psalm say? Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the unrighteous, stands not in the path of sinners, sits not in the seat of scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in the law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of the water, who shall bring forth its fruit in its season, and his leaves shall not wither. And everything he does shall prosper. Like, meditate. Are you meditating on his precepts? That's a principle. That's not a tactic. It's a principle. He says, if you do this thing, stay away from the scornful, stay away from the sinner, stay away from the unrighteous. That ain't just your friends and your family, but that's also the stuff on TV, the stuff you reading, the stuff you listening to. Stay away from that stuff. He says, for his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He meditates on it. He's sitting. He's thinking. He's in Hebrew, meditate means to you're not just sitting and closing your eyes, but the scriptures, when you're meditating on the scriptures, like you're saying these things to yourself throughout the day. You might be talking to the Lord, like mumbling under your breath. Like meditation is just consistently just making it part of your DNA. And are you doing that? If you do that, now it's a principle. God said if you do this, you'll get that. It's like computers. If then, like when you're doing computer programming, you have these if then statements. If you do this, then you do that. That's how we program computers. Like I have a little bit of programming experience, right? That's how the programmers program computers. If this, then that. Like all these programs. God, this book is a book of precepts. It's a book of precepts. If you do this, this is what'll happen. And guess who wrote the program? The creator. Your creator, my creator, the creator of everything, of the universe. So it's not about tactics, it's about precepts. So nothing is missing. And then I'll just wrap up with one of the things that Myron said to me today. Myron, we were talking, I was like, man, you know what? Like, We had the VIP mastermind this weekend. It was awesome. But man, let me tell you, bro, I almost didn't even want to come. He's like, "What? What happened? Why?" I was like, "Because like I've just been so deep in the trees, in the woods with my stuff, just doing the thing." And I'm like, "Man, like I let me just I'm just still working on something, figuring something out." Like when we started working together about six months or so ago, like boom, like I blasted off, got to play, boom, we were doing some things were happening, things are great, and then like I'm just working it out, just working. He's like, good, yeah, I know. He said, however, why do you think that is? Why do you think you took off? It's not because same thing, like you took off because you got the download. Like you already had what it took to do the thing, but now you're around and you were surrounded by other multi millionaires like yourself who who are accomplishing things, but it wasn't about tactics. Like when you came, like when we started working together, for you it was about tactics. It was. I mean, I'd already made millions of dollars, but it was still about tactics. And then I learned that it was more about principles. And it was the principles that are going to take me from making a couple $1,000,000 a year to to 10, 20 times that much. It's about principles, not tactics. And one principle, just like in the word of God, is a cord of three strands is not easily broken. That's a God's principle. So so what does that mean? If you separate yourself, like the reason why you took off and went to a whole nother level was because you were surrounded. It was like he used this analogy about like a about coal, charcoal in a grill. And like when you have charcoal in a grill and you light the charcoals, like what happens? Like you light the charcoal and when you bunch them up together, like that fire, they get red hot, right? They're all together, they get red hot. But then when you take one out, if you take one out and you set it to the side, what's gonna happen to the one you set to the side? It's gonna just die out. It's gonna eventually just die out, right? It's gonna die out faster. Well, it's the same thing. You gotta stay, you gotta stay close. Like you gotta stay connected. You gotta stay plugged in. And so what I would so I'm so the so you're not the only one. Like we all go through it. We all go through it. We all just want to figure it out ourselves. And and like I'll just leave you with this last piece. If we want to figure it out ourselves, take this into consideration. What got you here, where you are, will not get you there where you desire to be, regardless of how successful you are. What got you here, where you are, will not get you there where you desire to be. If you have the desire to be there, then you must do what it takes to become the person that has the ability to get that result. So, what got you here won't get you there. Stay plugged in, be hyper intentional about the things you're listening to, things you're the things you're looking at, the things you're reading. Understand it's about principles and not about tactics. And stay plugged in. to the right people. Remember, you were created in his own image. Be fruitful. Not just with this, not just with those seeds that are in our ovaries and our testicles. Be fruitful and multiply with the seed of creativity that he also gave you. Fill the earth with that creativity using all these things that he gave you in its purest form. Subdue it, master it, and have dominion over all these things. Be a good steward. Rule these things. He gave them to you for a reason. If you do those things and remember that a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken, stay connected, then all those things that people are making up, that you're even making up, you have less and less and less of the things that you're making up that's keeping you here, and more of the things that you're making up that actually got you there. So that your kids, your family, the people he's calling you to serve, now they have an example that they can follow. So hopefully this was helpful. Uh, we got we have, so I'm going to wrap up with Millionaire Mindset, and for all my Airbnb mastery students, jump on Zoom. Inside the Zoom, you should have the Zoom link, and then what I'm going to do, we're going to get started in about 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is we'll get you in there in about 5 minutes, and then we'll go through some private stuff for the next hour or so. All right, so God bless you. Thanks for listening. And if this was helpful, subscribe to the channel. If this was helpful, go ahead and share it. But most importantly, do the thing. Just do the thing. All right. God bless you.